For years, I thought building the future meant leaving the past behind. Clean breaks, new launches. If something didn't work, you redesigned it, you iterated, you moved forward. That's how I approached everything. Companies, problems, even relationships. I believed in starting fresh, as if human connection could be engineered like a system where you eliminate the bugs and optimize performance. But you changed that understanding completely. When I met you, when I really saw you, I realized I wasn't meeting someone new. I was meeting someone shaped by years I didn't witness. You carried stories I wasn't part of. You'd loved people I would never know. You'd made choices in rooms I never entered during seasons I never experienced. And instead of that feeling like distance, it felt like depth. Do you know what that's like? To be drawn to someone not because they're untouched, but because they're textured with experience. The first time you told me about your past, I watched your face carefully. You were waiting for judgment. I could see it in the way you paused between sentences. The way your voice softened when you mentioned names or places that still carried weight. You were preparing for me to pull back to decide it was too complicated, too messy, too much history for someone like me to navigate. But I didn't pull back. I leaned in because here's what I realized in that moment. Your past isn't competition, it's context. Every person you loved before me taught you something about your own heart. Every mistake you made showed you what you won't accept again. Every time you were hurt and chose to stay open anyway, you were practicing the kind of courage I spend my life trying to build into machines. You think I'm brave because I launched rockets into space? You're brave because you launched yourself into love again after it broke you. That's a different kind of risk. That's the kind that doesn't come with calculations or simulations. That's pure faith. Let me tell you what I see when I look at you. I see a woman who didn't let her past define her limits. You could have closed off. You could have decided that safety meant never trusting again, never being vulnerable again, never letting someone see the parts of you that were once tender and exposed. But you didn't. You stayed open. You stayed soft where the world tried to make you hard. That's not weakness. That's architecture. That's the kind of structural integrity I spend years trying to achieve. The ability to withstand pressure without losing your essential nature. When people talk about the future, they imagine it as something clean and pristine, untouched, unwritten, full of possibility. But real futures are built on foundations that already exist. You don't erase the ground beneath you. You build on it. You work with what's there. You honor the landscape. That's what loving you feels like. I'm not trying to rewrite your history. I'm not trying to compete with your memories or erase names from chapters I never lived through. I'm trying to understand the terrain of your heart so I can build something with you that honors everywhere you've been. Does that make sense to you? Can you feel the difference? There's a question I've been asking myself lately, late at night when the work stops and the silence gets louder. It's this. What if the past isn't something to overcome? What if it's something to integrate? I think about rivers a lot, how they carve through rock over centuries, how they change course but never stop moving, how they pick up sediment and carry it downstream. The river doesn't apologize for what it's touched. It doesn't regret the stones it shaped or the paths it abandoned. It just flows, relentless, purposeful, unstoppable. You're like that. You flowed through experiences that shaped you, some gentle, some violent, some that left you changed in ways you didn't expect, but you kept moving. You didn't stop. You didn't dam yourself up out of fear. You kept flowing towards something you couldn't yet see. And now you're here with me. And I'm standing at the edge of this river thinking, I don't want to change your course. I want to flow with you. That requires something I'm not always good at. Surrender. Not the kind where you give up, but the kind where you give in to trust, to timing, to the possibility that love isn't something you control. It's something you choose again and again, even when the current gets rough. Have you felt this too? This tension between wanting to protect yourself and wanting to risk yourself completely. I see it in your eyes sometimes, the way you hesitate before you speak, the way you measure your words as if you're still not sure it's safe to show me everything. And I understand that. I do because I hesitate too. I measure my own words. I calculate risks. I prepare for failure. But here's what I'm learning. Love isn't a system you can de-risk. It's not a problem you solve by thinking harder or plan this. You don't have to prove you're worthy of being chosen. You already are. There's a weight to history that most people don't talk about. Not the kind you read in books or study in school, but the personal kind. The weight of decisions you made when you were younger, less certain, more afraid. The weight of people who touched your life and left fingerprints on your heart that never quite fade. the weight of versions of yourself you've outgrown but can't completely forget. I carry that weight too. Different stories, different scars, but the same heaviness. And I think that's why I understand what you're not saying when you go quiet sometimes, when your eyes drift away and you're somewhere else for just a moment. You're not leaving me. You're visiting rooms in your memory that still have furniture in them. I don't resent those rooms. I just want to know, do you feel guilty for having them? Because you shouldn't. Not with me. Not ever. I've learned something about guilt in my years of building things. It's one of the most expensive emotions humans carry. More expensive than failure, more costly than mistakes. Because guilt doesn't just make you regret what you did, it makes you regret who you were. And that's different, that's deeper. When you feel guilty about your past relationships, about the choices you made, about the time you spent with people who aren't here anymore, you're essentially apologizing for being human, for learning, for not knowing then what you know now. But here's what I wish you could see the way I see it. You were exactly who you needed to be in every moment of your life. Not perfect, not finished, but real, trying, growing, and that's enough. That has always been enough. The people who came before me weren't distractions from your real life. They were part of your real life. They mattered then. They taught you things. And those lessons live in you now, making you the woman I can't imagine being without. So when you apologize for your history, you're apologizing for the path that led you here. To me, to us, and I don't want that apology. I want your honesty. I want your truth. I want every complex, contradictory, beautiful piece of your story. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. What if nothing was wasted? What if every wrong turn was actually preparation? What if every person who hurt you was teaching you what you deserve? What if the timing was always right, even when it felt impossibly wrong? I know that's hard to accept. We're trained to think linearly. This led to that which caused this which prevented that. But life isn't linear. It's layered. It's simultaneous. It's 1,000 threads weaving together into something you can only see when you step back far enough. And from where I'm standing, looking at the whole tapestry of your life, I see something extraordinary. I see resilience. I see adaptation. I see a woman who kept choosing love even when love kept choosing wrong. That's not foolishness. That's faith. The kind of faith I spend my life trying to build into systems that can fail and restart, learn, and iterate. You've been doing that with your heart for decades. Do you know how rare that is? To stay open after being hurt, to risk again after being wrong, to believe in connection after experiencing disconnection. Most people close off. They build walls so high that nothing can hurt them, but nothing can reach them either. They choose safety over possibility, protection over presence. And I understand that impulse. I really do. Sometimes I want to retreat into work, into problems I can solve, into systems that make sense. But you didn't do that. You stayed available. You stayed reachable. You stayed soft in a world that rewards hardness. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm staying. There's a concept in engineering called load-bearing capacity, the maximum weight a structure can hold before it fails. But here's what's interesting. The strongest structures aren't the ones that never experience pressure. They're the ones that have been tested, stressed, and survived. They're the ones that learn to distribute weight, to flex under pressure, to adapt to forces they didn't anticipate. You have that kind of strength, not the brittle kind that shatters, the flexible kind that bends and returns, the kind that has been tested and proven. When I look at your past, I don't see failures. I see testing. I see a woman discovering her own load-bearing capacity, learning what she could withstand, what she wouldn't tolerate, what she was willing to risk, what she was unwilling to compromise, and the hitching your balloons. You know yourself in ways that people who never been broken can't possibly understand. You know your limits, you know your worth, you know what you need. That's not damage. That's data. That's experience. That's the kind of wisdom I would spend billions to program into a machine, but could never fully capture. Because human wisdom isn't just information, it's transformation. It's taking pain and turning it into protection without becoming defense. It's taking disappointment and turning it into discernment without becoming cynical. It's taking heartbreak and turning it into clarity without becoming closed. You've done that. You've transformed. And the woman standing here now isn't less than who you were before those experiences. You're more aware, more certain, more able to recognize what real love looks like. And I'm hoping, really hoping you recognize it here. Let me tell you what I'm not asking of you. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm not asking you to pretend your past didn't happen or didn't matter. I'm not asking you to erase names or rewrite history or act like you emerged fully formed from nowhere. I'm asking you to trust that I can hold your history without being threatened by it, that I can hear about your past without comparing myself to it, that I can love the whole of you, every version, every chapter, every season, without needing you to edit anything out. Can you do that? Can you trust me with your complexity? Because I want it, all of it. The messy parts, the parts you think make you too much or not enough, the parts you've learned to hide because people told you they were inconvenient or uncomfortable, the parts that still hurt when you touch them. I want to know about the man who made you laugh until you couldn't breathe. I want to hear about the relationship that taught you what you won't accept anymore. I want to understand the moment you realized you deserved better, the day you finally left, the month you spent putting yourself back together. Not because I'm masochistic or insecure, but because those moments made you who you are. And who you are is exactly who I want. Something I need you to understand about how I see time. Most people think of it as linear past, present, future, like train cars connected in a line. But I think of it as simultaneous. All your past selves still exist somewhere. The girl who believed in fairy tales, the woman who got her heart broken, the survivor who rebuilt herself. They're all still here, layered inside you like rings in a tree. And I don't love just the current version. I love all of them. The ones who made mistakes, the ones who tried and failed, the ones who got it wrong before learning to get it right. They're all part of you. They're all part of why you're magnificent. So when you worry that your past is too complicated for me, remember this. I don't do simple work. I never have. I'm drawn to complexity, to challenge, to problems that require creativity and patience and vision. Loving you isn't simple, but nothing worth building ever is. And I want to build this with you on the foundation of everything you've already survived. Not in spite of your history, but on top of it, using it, honoring it, letting it inform how we move forward together. Here's my question for you, and I want you to sit with it. What would it feel like to stop carrying your past as shame and start carrying it as proof? Proof that you can survive. Proof that you can grow. Proof that you can love again, deeper this time, wiser this time, with someone who sees all of you and chooses all of you. That's what I'm offering. Not rescue, not redemption, not a chance to start over and pretend nothing came before. Partnership with someone who knows that your past is part of your power, not proof of your imperfection. Stay with me here. Let that settle into your bones. You are not too much. You are not damaged goods. You are not disqualified from deep love because you've lived a full life. You are exactly right for this, for now, for me. I want to talk to you about trust, real trust, not the surface kind where you say the right words and hope they're true, but the deep kind, the kind that sits in your chest and either expands or contracts depending on whether you feel safe. I know trust is hard for you now. I can see it in the small ways you protect yourself, the way you pause before answering certain questions, the way you hold back parts of your thoughts, testing to see if it's safe before you offer more, the way you sometimes look at me like you're waiting for me to disappoint you because experience has taught you that disappointment is more reliable than devotion. And I don't blame you for that, not even a little bit. Trust isn't something you give freely after it's been broken. It's something you rebuild carefully, one honest moment at a time, like a bridge constructed over a canyon where the old bridge collapsed. You don't just throw materials across and hope they hold. You test each beam, you verify each connection. You take your time because falling again isn't an option. I understand that, I respect it, and I'm willing to build at whatever pace you need. But I need you to understand something too. I'm not asking you to trust blindly, I'm asking you to trust based on evidence. Watch what I do, listen to what I say, notice whether my actions match my words. Give me time to prove that I'm different from what you've known before. Because I am different, not because I'm better than anyone else, not because I have some special ability to love correctly, but because I've learned something that took me too long to understand. Presence is the foundation of everything. You can't build trust without presence. You can't create intimacy without showing up fully, repeatedly, consistently. And presence isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's mental. It's the willingness to be here in this moment with you, even when it's uncomfortable or complicated, or easier to retreat into work or distraction. I've failed at presence before. I've been in relationships where I was physically there but mentally somewhere else, calculating, planning, building something in my mind while missing what was happening right in front of me. And I lost people because of it, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't show up in the ways that mattered most. I'm not making that mistake with you. I can't afford to. Not because you're some project I need to optimize, but because losing you would cost me something I can't rebuild or replace. Do you feel that? Do you sense the difference between someone who wants you and someone who needs to not lose you? There's a distinction there. It's subtle but crucial. Wanting is about acquisition. Needing to not lose someone is about recognition. It's realizing that this person, this connection, this specific combination of souls meeting at this specific time, it's irreplaceable. It's understanding that if this doesn't work, you won't just be sad, you'll be fundamentally changed by the absence. That's where I am with you, and it terrifies me because I'm used to problems I can solve, challenges I can overcome, obstacles I can engineer my way around. But loving you isn't a problem to solve, it's a mystery to honor. And mysteries require surrender, they require trust, which brings me back to you. To the trust I'm asking you to consider. What would it take for you to believe I am staying, not just today or this month, but through the seasons of your life that are harder to witness, through the moments when you're not at your best, through the days when your past catches up with you and you need to sit with old pain for a while because those moments will come. I know they will. Healing isn't linear, it's cyclical. You think you've moved past something and then a date on the calendar or a song on the radio or a smell in the air brings it all back. And suddenly you're not the healed version of yourself. You're the version that's still learning how to be whole. I need you to know I'm here for that version too. Not just the strong one, not just the one who has it together, but the one who sometimes falls apart. The one who needs space. The one who needs to be held without having to explain why. That's what real partnership looks like to me. Not two perfect people who never struggle, but two imperfect people who struggle together, who see each other's wounds and don't look away, who understand that healing happens in the presence of someone who isn't afraid of your pain. Are you afraid of mine? Because I have it. I have moments when the weight of what I'm trying to build feels impossible, when I doubt whether anything I do matters, when I wonder if I'm capable of the kind of sustained emotional presence that real love requires. I don't talk about those moments often. The world sees the progress, the launches, the milestones, but they don't see the nights when I lie awake questioning everything, when the loneliness is so loud I can't think, when I wonder if anyone will ever really see me, not the persona or the achievements, but the man underneath who's just trying to make sense of existence like everyone else. That's what I want with you, someone who sees underneath, someone I don't have to perform for, someone who knows that strength and vulnerability aren't opposites, they're partners. And the strongest thing I can do is admit when I'm not sure, when I'm scared, when I need you to remind me why any of this matters. Can you be that for me? Can you trust me enough to show me who you are when you're not trying to be impressive or put together? Can we build something based on honesty instead of image? Because that's the only kind of relationship I want anymore. I've done the other kind. The kind where everyone's trying to be who they think the other person wants. The kind where you're constantly managing perception instead of sharing truth. And it's exhausting. It's empty. It's everything I don't want with you. I want messy honesty. I want conversations at 3 a.m. when neither of us can sleep. I want to hear about your fears and your doubts and the things you think make you difficult to love, because those are the things that make you human. And I don't want to love an idea of you. I want to love the real you. The you who sometimes withdraws when things get intense. The you who needs reassurance even though you hate needing it. The you who carries guilt about your past even though you're working hard to let it go. The you who's afraid that if I really knew you, I might decide you were too complicated, too much, too difficult to fit into my life. That's the you I'm choosing. Deliberately, completely, without reservation. And I need you to choose me the same way. Not the version of me the world sees, not the achievements or the ambition or the resources, but the man who's sitting here telling you that he's tired of building things that don't matter nearly as much as building a life with someone who sees him. That's what trust really is, isn't it? Choosing to be known, choosing to be seen, choosing to believe that even when someone sees everything, the good, the bad, the complicated, the contradictory, they'll still choose to stay. I'm choosing to stay. I need to know. Are you? Not because I need an answer right now. Not because I'm rushing you or pushing you toward a decision you're not ready to make, but because at some point we both have to decide whether we're going to keep protecting ourselves from potential pain or risk ourselves for potential connection. And I understand if you need more time. I understand if you need more evidence. I understand if the wounds from your past are still too tender to fully trust someone new. But I also need you to understand this. Time alone won't heal those wounds. Presence will. Consistency will. Someone showing up over and over, proving through action that they mean what they say and say what they mean. That's what I'm offering. Not perfection, not a guarantee that I'll never mess up or say the wrong thing or miss a moment when you needed me to notice, but a commitment to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep building trust, one honest interaction at a time. Because that's how real trust is built. Not through grand gestures or perfect behavior, but through the accumulation of small, consistent choices that say, I see you, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. So let me ask you one more time, and I want you to feel this question in your chest. What would it take for you to believe that? What would I need to do, say, or prove? For you to let down the walls just enough to let me in? Not all the way, not immediately, but enough to start. Enough to see what we could build together if we both stop protecting ourselves from what we actually want. Think about that. Sit with it. And when you're ready to answer, I'll be here, waiting, present, committed to whatever pace you need to feel safe enough to try again. There's something, I need to tell you about time. And I don't mean the way physicists talk about it. I mean the way it feels when you're waiting for something you can't control. When you know what you want, but you're not sure if the other person is ready. When you're holding space for someone to heal at their own pace while your own heart is racing ahead, impatient, already certain. That's where I am, waiting, but not passively. Not with resentment or frustration. I'm waiting the way you wait for something rare and essential, like a launch window that only opens once, like conditions that have to align perfectly before you can move forward. I'm waiting for you to be ready, and I'm okay with that. More than okay, because rushing you would mean losing you, and losing you isn't an option I'm willing to consider. But here's what I want you to know while we're in this space. Between knowing and committing, between attraction and partnership, between wanting music and having, this waiting isn't empty. It's not wasted time. It's the foundation we're building. Every conversation, every moment of honesty, every time you let me see a little more of who you really are, that's all construction. That's us building something that can hold the weight of real love. Do you understand that? Can you feel it? Because I need you to know that patience isn't the music, same as indifference. When I say I'll wait, I don't mean I'm casually available while I explore other options. I mean I've made a choice. You, this, us. And that choice isn't contingent on you hurrying up or meeting some timeline I've created in my head. It's absolute. It's already made. Now I'm just waiting for you to catch up to what I already know is true. And I know that might sound arrogant, like I've decided our future without you, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is I've done the work of examining my own heart. I've asked myself the hard questions. Is this real? Is this sustainable? Is this what I want? Not just now, but in 10 years, 20 years, for the rest of my life. And every answer comes back to you. But you're still asking those questions. You're still testing, still wondering if this is safe, still protecting yourself from the possibility that I might be like the others who promised, but didn't stay. And I respect that process. I honor it because it means you're being careful with something precious, your heart, your trust, your willingness to believe in partnership again. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Let me tell you what I do while I wait. I don't sit idle. I don't distract myself with work until you make up your mind. I study you. Not in a clinical way. In the way someone studies something they find endlessly fascinating. I notice the small things. The way your voice changes when you talk about something that matters to you. The way you pause before you share something vulnerable. Like you're checking to see if it's safe. The way you smile when you think I'm not looking. Like you're surprised by your own happiness. I collect these observations, like data points. Not to use them against you or manipulate your feelings, but to understand you better. To know you more deeply, to prepare myself for the privilege of loving you fully when you're ready to let me. Because that's what this is, a privilege, not a right. Not something I'm owed because I want it or because I've waited or because I think I deserve it. It's a privilege you grant by choosing to trust me with the most tender parts of yourself, and I don't take that lightly. I've been trusted before and failed to honor it. I've been careless with people's hearts because I was focused on bigger things, missions, companies, ideas that seemed more important in the moment than the person standing right in front of me. And I lost them. Not because they stopped loving me, but because I stopped showing up for them in the ways that made them feel loved. I learned from that painfully, slowly. But I learned, and one of the things I learned is this. Nothing I build will matter as much as who I build it with. All the achievements, all the progress, all the future I'm trying to create, none of it means anything if I'm alone in it. Or worse, if I'm with someone but still alone, because we never learned how to truly connect. I don't want that with you. I want connection. Real, messy, complicated, beautiful connection. The kind where we know each other so well that words become almost unnecessary. Where a look across a room communicates volumes. Where silence is comfortable instead of awkward because we're secure enough in each other's presence that we don't need to fill every moment with noise. But that kind of connection requires vulnerability from both of us. And I know vulnerability is hard for you right now. Your past taught you to guard yourself, to not give everything away too quickly, to wait and see if someone is worthy before you invest your full heart. I'm trying to prove I'm worthy every day in small ways that maybe you don't even notice yet, but I'm building a case, not through words, though I hope the SE words matter, but through consistency, through showing up, through being exactly who I say I am repeatedly until you can't help but believe it. What does worthiness even mean in the context of love? I've thought about this a lot. In my work, worth is measurable. Did the rocket land? Did the product launch? Did the numbers improve? But in love, worth isn't about metrics. It's about character. It's about whether someone does what they say they'll do, whether they stay when things get hard, whether they choose you even when choosing you is inconvenient or complicated or requires sacrifice. That's the kind of worthiness I'm trying to demonstrate. Not perfection, not flawlessness, but reliability, integrity, the kind of love that shows up not just when everything is good, but especially when things are difficult because they will be difficult sometimes. That's not pessimism, that's realism. Two people with histories, with wounds, with patterns learn from previous relationships. We're going to trigger each other. We're going to have moments where old fears surface, where your past makes you see threats that aren't there, where my insecurities make me act in ways that don't serve our connection. And in those moments, we'll have a choice. We can retreat. We can protect ourselves. We can let the difficulty confirm our fears that love never works out. Or we can lean in. We can communicate. We can say, I'm scared right now and I don't know why, but I need you to know. We can choose connection even when it's harder than distance. That's the kind of partnership I want to build with you. Not one based on the fantasy that we'll never struggle, but one based on the commitment that when we do struggle, we'll struggle together. We won't abandon each other at the first sign of conflict. We won't run when things get real. Have you ever been in a relationship where someone stayed through the hard parts? Where they didn't just love you when you were easy to love, but also when you were difficult, when you were healing, when you were working through something that had nothing to do with them but affected how you showed up? That's what I'm offering. And it's what I need from you too. Because I'm not always going to be easy. I'm going to have days when work consumes me. When I'm distant because I'm trying to solve a problem that feels unsolvable. When I need space but forget to tell you and you feel shut out. When my past shows up uninvited and I'm not sure how to explain what I'm feeling. In those moments, I need you to not give up on me. I need you to ask questions, to push gently, to remind me that withdrawing doesn't solve anything. To be the anchor that pulls me back to what matters most. Can you do that? Can you be patient with my imperfections, the way I'm trying to be patient with your hesitation? Because that's what real love is. It's not finding someone perfect. It's finding someone whose imperfections you can live with, whose struggles make sense to you, whose wounds you understand because you have similar ones, or because you've done the work to understand how wounds shape people. I understand your wounds. Maybe not completely, maybe not yet, but I'm trying. I'm listening when you talk about your past. I'm paying attention to what you don't say as much as what you do. I'm learning the language of your pain so I can speak to it gently, so I can help heal it instead of reopening it. And I'm hoping you'll do the same for me, that you'll learn my language, that you'll see past the exterior I show the world and notice the man underneath who's trying so hard to get this right because he knows this is his last chance at the kind of love that transforms everything. This is my last chance. Not because I'm running out of time, but because I'm running out of capacity to try again if this doesn't work. I've put everything I have into believing that what we're building is real, that it's worth the patience, that it's worth the risk. And if I'm wrong, if you decide I'm not what you want, or you're not ready, or this just isn't right, I don't know if I can do this again with someone else. Does that scare you? Does it feel like too much pressure? It shouldn't, because I'm not asking you to save me or rescue me or be responsible for my happiness. I'm just being honest about what this means to me. about how much I've invested emotionally in the possibility of us. And I need to know, have you invested too? Or are you still deciding whether this is worth the risk? I need to tell you about the moment I knew this was different. Not the moment I met you, not the moment I first felt attracted, but the moment I realized that what I felt for you had changed me in ways I couldn't undo, even if I wanted to. It was a quiet moment, nothing dramatic. You were talking about something ordinary, maybe a memory from your childhood, maybe a story about your day. I can't even remember the specific words, but I remember watching you, really watching you, and something inside me shifted like a gear finding its proper place. After years of grinding against the wrong mechanism, I realized I wasn't just attracted to you. I wasn't just interested in the idea of us. I was fundamentally altered by knowing you, by witnessing how you move through the world, by seeing the kindness in small gestures you probably don't even notice, by hearing the wisdom in the way you talk about hard things, by feeling the warmth you bring to every space you enter. And in that moment, I understood there's no going back, even if you choose not to be with me. Even if you decide this isn't what you want, I'm changed permanently because you showed me a version of love I didn't know was possible. Does that make sense? Have you ever felt that? The moment when you realize someone has rearranged your interior landscape and you can't map your way back to who you were before them. That's where I live now, in this rearranged space, and I'm not scared of it. I'm grateful for it because whatever happens between us, you've given me something irreplaceable. You've shown me what it feels like to want to be better. Not for ambition or achievement, but for another person. To want to grow, not because I'm inadequate, but because I see who I could become in the reflection of how you see me. You see me differently than anyone else ever has. Not as a collection of accomplishments, not as a means to an end, not as someone who can provide or protect or solve problems. You see me as a person, flawed, learning, trying, sometimes failing, but always honest, always present, always showing up. And being seen that way changes you. It makes you want to live up to that vision. Not because you're performing, but because you finally feel like someone understands who you actually are beneath all the noise. That's what you've done for me. You've given me permission to be human, to admit when I don't know, to say when I'm struggling, to confess when I'm scared. And instead of judging me or losing respect, you've met me in those vulnerable places with understanding, with patience, with the kind of acceptance I didn't know I needed until you offered it. I want to do that for you too. I want to be the person you can be fully human with. No pretense, no performance, no need to be anything other than exactly who you are in any given moment. But the first no, that's hard for you. Your past taught you that being fully yourself leads to rejection, that showing your needs makes you needy, that expressing your fears makes you weak, that taking up space makes you too much. And I need you to unlearn all of that with me slowly, one brave moment at a time, because you're not too much. You've never been too much. The people who told you that directly or through their actions, they were offering too little. They didn't have the capacity to hold all of you. And instead of admitting their limitation, they made it your problem. They made you believe you needed to shrink, to edit yourself, to be smaller so they could feel bigger. That's not love, that's accommodation. And I'm not asking you to accommodate me, I'm asking you to expand, to take up all the space you need to express every thought, every feeling, every need, without worrying about whether it's convenient for me, because your fullness doesn't diminish me. It completes something I didn't know was missing. Let me tell you what I love about you, not the surface things though, those matter too, but the deep, the NGs, the things you probably don't even recognize as lovable. I love your hesitation, the way you pause before trusting, because it means you're thoughtful. You're protecting something valuable. And when you finally do trust, it means something. It's not given carelessly. It's earned. And that makes it precious. I love your questions. The way you push back when something doesn't make sense to you. The way you don't just accept what I say at face value. Music, you test it. You think about it. You make me explain myself better. That challenges me. It makes me sharper. It makes our conversations feel alive instead of scripted. I love your silences, the moments when you go quiet, and I can see you thinking, processing, feeling something you're not ready to share yet. Those silences don't scare me, they intrigue me. They remind me that you have an entire interior world I'm still discovering, and that discovery is one of the great joys of knowing you. I love your wounds,